everything, but she really wants those evidentiary hearings. And so it's different legal issues and whatnot. But what is analogous is this court is willing to look at very hot button type issues and make a legal decision not based on passion or prejudice, like the jurors are supposed to do. But that's why we have appellate courts, hopefully, that are willing to do that. And they were in this case. I don't know anything about the case. I didn't follow it. Millbilly maybe later on can talk more about what that town's like or what that thing is. But I guarantee you, in a community, when a 2-year-old boy ends up dead allegedly at the hands of a boyfriend, you all have had cases in or around where you live, and you know how they want to go out and lynch the people. There's a lot of comments about that couple up in Idaho and those missing children, and even they're ardent supporters of Stephen and Brendan and know how important it's just different, when you're talking about true crime informally around the water cooler on YouTube or wherever. It's a different type of thing than the context of what you're hoping and is going to happen at the appellate court level. But I bet you there are people in this child's community were outraged that this case got reversed on a technicality. Just like there are going to be people in Stephen's community who are outraged that gets sent back for an evidentiary hearing. But that's not the standards. Like you say, Jeff, it's the rule of law. It needs to be looked at fairly and impartially. And if there's a technicality, well, technicality is been for either somebody didn't get a fair trial, like this gentleman didn't, or his or her constitutional rights were violated. So sometimes
this guy
hard to be a supporter.
No. Is it natural or standard protocol for a judge to deny the jury to review somebody's testimony?
In what context, Millbilly?
The jury asked if they could review Bobby's testimony.
So I talked about this before. They asked for Bobby's testimony, and they sent a note. We want to rehear Bobby's testimony. They're given an instruction saying, we'll get you the testimony, but you have to tell us there's a conflict between one or more jurors, actually be 2 or more jurors, about what the testimony is. And then you have to tell us what portions. So they send that note back, and a lot of juries are just like, that would have been one juror saying, well, I have a reasonable doubt because Bobby said this. And then, 5 of them say, oh, no, Bobby said that. Well, let's get the testimony. And then they send out the request, and we want this read back. And the judge, and it's the way it is in Texas, tells them, look, I can't just read you back testimony because you want it. You have to tell us that there's a difference of opinion as to the witness's testimony and what portions you want read back. So that note comes back, and then that juror just says, forget it. I give up. I'll go guilty, or I'll go not guilty. Or so, no, it does happen. And so that's why I tell the jury in closing argument, I use some of my time saying, look, if you do need a read back, read the instruction carefully. You can't just say, I want it read back. Have to say there's a disagreement between us as to what a witness said, and we would like the testimony regarding this read back.
Our
And then
jury.
what happens is the court reporter does a search, and then she spits out the pages and shows them to me and the other attorney and says, "This is what I found. Can you remember anything else?" We try and come to an agreement on what'll be read back. But no, if they don't ask for it the right way, and it's unfortunate, they need to reword the instruction, make it clearer in Wisconsin and in Texas.
And they're not
But,
able. They're not allowed to ask questions.
um, that can happen.
Because
Uh,
Willis was like, "You guys
in
can't ask questions."
civil cases, some courts have allowed that, but no, by and large, jurors asking questions isn't allowed anywhere in the United States, with certain very limited exceptions. And because why that is, especially in a criminal trial, is what do you do if one of the jurors says, and confession's been excluded? Well, did you confess like I read in the paper and it's been excluded?
Hmm.
Then you got to toss the whole case. So no, they're not allowed to ask questions of witnesses. Now they can submit questions, um, and frequently jurors will submit questions that very logical and reasoned, and yeah, they want to know that, but it was either excluded or it didn't meet standards or whatever the reason why there was no testimony on that. Maybe both sides didn't think it was important and didn't offer any evidence on it. The judge pretty much tells them, uh, you're limited to what the evidence you heard from the witness stand or the documents, and you need to make your decision based on that. I've got 8% left. I can go running, get a cord, or we
Hmm.
have a couple more questions. Either way, I can go running, take me a minute, or we can wrap up, whichever you want to do.
Uh, how long do you think? You think we'll hear anything before next year?
Based on that real loose analysis that I did, picking a handful of cases, 3 or 4, um, I thought before the end of the year, if there's no oral argument granted.
Hmm.
If oral argument was granted, it's going to be next year for sure. They may wait for a vaccine and do the oral argument next summer, and then we'd get a decision in next fall or winter. If they're not going to order oral argument, which is extremely rare, the real loose analysis I did said we should get a decision before the end of the year. Of course, this is a very high profile case, and but if Jeff and I can get together and get help from a couple other people, we might be able to get a more accurate range on it.
I was guessing 3 to 6
I'm glad to
months
do that.
from when
Because
we
there's
get.
nothing else to do from the legal side until then. So,
Yep.
uh, you know,
Well, it's got to be assigned to judges first because it's still, according to what I see on the CK
yeah. So
website,
I think it's going to be Riley, Neubauer, and that third one. Is it
Gundram.
Kelly?
Oh yeah,
I
Kelly.
don't think it'll be Gundram. Gundram was on this panel with Garcia, but I think Gundram will recuse himself
Conflict of
because it
interest.
might look shady, because he was at initially a big supporter and working with Stephen on the Stephen Avery Act or whatever it was called. And so he may just say,
Avery Bill.
Yeah,
pardon?
the Avery bill.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Avery bill. So there's 4 judges up.
Yep. Oh, think we
That's it.
lost.
His cord was a big fat liar. Yeah. I think it's a good sign. I mean, obviously, I think this guy had the same. Was it Gonzalez? Is that his name?
Yep.
Had the same, go through the same process as Steve. That's some local, circuit court judge, a la, Judge Angie.
Mhm.
had to summarily deny his request as well, and probably based on, the type of, fear of fear. I mean, she obviously has it in for Stephen and Brendan, but these local judges have to have, a fear, especially in these cases, that they're worried about getting reelected, right? And these cases that make the blood boil, where people want to see heads roll, they don't see them unless unless something happens with regard to a conviction, or these judges do not want the backlash of the electorate saying, "Oh yeah, this was the judge that let the person go." You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of elected judges. I thought it was a good thing when it first started happening, but now, the more I see, I'm not sure what the right way to do it is. But having to answer to the outraged electorate when things were obviously not handled right, particularly in Stevens and more so in Brendan's. Yeah.
But we should be hearing something about Colburn's case in a few days. I think it's the 16th that they have their phone conference. Each side's going to get 10 minutes to state their case, and then they're going to make a decision.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. But the decision is not. It's whether or not the trial is going to go forward, right? It's not. Who's guilty or whether Netflix is guilty, right? It's whether there's going to be a trial period. Yeah.
Well, I think they're going to be talking about whether they're going to do the evidentiary hearing or not, because the judge last said that there's conflicting statements from both sides, so only thing to do is to have evidentiary hearing. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, that's good. I think that helps Stephen. I mean, to the extent that that Coburn is forced to potentially have to produce something. It seems to me things. I wish Travis were here, but it seems to me that things can be slid into that request. If you want to say the key was legitimately discovered, then answer these questions, right? So something along those lines. I'm sure it can only help.
Yep.
I don't see how it can hurt, but
I know
that'd be great.
I know it's hard for people because there's no news and just sitting here waiting. But imagine being Stephen Avery.
I can't imagine that. I mean, the guy's just suffering. He's been through COVID, successfly beat that, and poor guy, just sitting there, rotting away, and in many people's opinion, wrongfully convicted, and the gears of justice are barely turning at all. And there's just so many people that'd be happy to see him rot, but just the way this went down. You just can't let these. You can't be a good person and let these injustices stand. You just have to point them out, because no matter how you feel, there was just so much crap that went on. We have to have a fair hearing, and he hasn't had that yet.
Nope. But in time, justice will come. The truth always comes out. Taking forever.
Wait. Yep. COVID isn't helping it, that's for sure.
Yep. Well, thanks for joining me. Hopefully this week we can get together and do that other thing we've been talking about. Wednesday or Thursday.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
All right.
The Amy Lehman. Yep. Okay, sounds good.
All right, folks. Y'all have a good day.
Okay. Bye-bye.